Screencast. Here we'll cover Chapter 6, getting into typography. We're going to be doing 6, 1, 2, and 3 together in this piece. We're going to start with getting into Chapter 6 data file 6-1. 6-1. Picture of a violin, says urban music in the top left. We've got 4 layers, background horns, viola, and urban music. Let's go ahead and save this, Command-Shift-S. And let's save this in our classwork folder as urban music. So now we're going to be working with type. And type is one of the more important things in Photoshop once you get your layers and gradients and backgrounds figured out. We're going to be looking at all different kinds of types, and then we'll have to kind of go on a tangent from there as well. All right. In your document, if your workspace is set up as something different, you might want to flip this back to Essentials. I know the first time I did it, I got a bunch of other palettes. We will be using the Characters palette for this, but we want to make sure we're still seeing color and swatches in our Layers palette as default. Let's go ahead and click Default Foreground Background Color. So Default Foreground Background Color is the black and white right there. And let's go click on the Horizontal Type Tool, which is just regular text. If you click and hold, you can see Horizontal Type Tool. So Horizontal Type Tool. Okay, with the Horizontal Type Tool selected, we're going to get down here in kind of the corner of this grid on the kind of the bottom side of this viola here. We're going to type in here live music. Live music. And mine kind of shifted to the left, so I'm going to have to move it. If I go to my move tool, I can move that. So I want it right over here. So we have live music. Okay, now let's talk about editing this particular piece. Since I went to my move tool, I want to edit that. I'm just going to come back to my text tool and then I'm going to select music itself. I don't have to do that. It's just a preferred method that I go through. I'm going to go up to my text tool up top and I'm going to select a different font. For this one, I'm just going to do Arial. Just Arial, and we're going to do italics. And let's keep our size. Let's do 48 for size, 48 point for the size. So at this point, it should be a little bit italicized, live music. I'm going to move it just a little bit more right there. So let's say that, go to your move tool, let's say that you've made some changes to your text. You're like, oh, I want to just change it real quick. There's a couple different ways. So if I go to my move tool, I'm clicking on the text, I don't see any way to change my text up top. What you can do is go straight to your text tool. I'm not clicked anywhere on the text, but I can now come up and I can go back and change my font. For example, let's make this Times. It changes the font to Times without even selecting the entire block. A bunch of different ways you can do it. You could even go over to the Characters palette over here, and you could even change things over there. It depends on what your preference is. Okay, now we're going to change the color. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just select all the text. I'm going to click all the text on the layer, the live music layer. And up top on my options bar, I'm going to select the black so I can remove, I'm going to get a different color. I'm going to move my color picker out of the way. This is the colorings. This should be a review on coloring what we just did in Chapter 5. So I want to get a yellow in the image so it kind of matches. So if you look here in the middle of this viola, I'm going to grab this yellow. So I'm going to click there. I get this nice soft yellow. Click OK. My text is automatically converted to that nice soft yellow. Looks good on it. Now, one thing about text is you can commit changes. So I'm selected currently on live music. If I want to accept those changes, I can either go to the move tool or I can come up here on the options bar and I can click the check mark, which means commit changes, and then I'm just left alone there. But I'm still on the text tool. Okay. Let's keep moving with live music and looking at how we can shift a couple things. So make sure you're on the live music layer. We're going to be working with live music still. Let's make sure we're on the text tool, and let's click between the L and the I. The L and the I. Okay, as you're selected between those two, go to your Characters palette. And on your Characters palette, okay, you've got this V/A. And what this is this sets your kerning. And kerning, it deals with what's the space between your two objects. So if you drag your kerning to a negative, the L and the I will become closer together. I'm going to do something like around -30 or so. Do something that looks good for yours. Now let's click between the M and the U, and let's adjust the kerning there as well. For this one, I'm going to do probably, about the same, -30 or so. So just to keep it consistent from each one, I'm going to just keep it the same. Okay, so there we have it. Let's go ahead and commit those changes. So I'm going to go up to my options bar, I'm going to click the check mark, and that commits the changes for live music. Okay, now let's do some changes just to the L and then look at how we can save changes to a specific letter. So I'm going to highlight the L. So I'm going to click with my text tool. I'm going to drag just to select the L. If you click anywhere else with the text tool, you're going to create a new text layer. So you would need to undo it at that point. So I have just the L selected. I'm going to go change my color. And my color is going to be, I'm going to pull out this kind of this red here in the shadow of this of the base here where the strings meet up. So I've got kind of this dark red now. I'm going to click off that so you can see I got this dark red of the L, just the L. And I do that by selecting only the L. And let's go ahead and change some other things about it. So I'm going to bring my characters palette down here just so you can see this. So my characters palette, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my font size a little bit. I'm going to go, let's see, I'm going to go all the way up to probably 60 points. And that doesn't necessarily look the best, so we could do some design elements with that. We can do what's called a baseline shift. And our baseline shift is this little guy right here, the big A with the little a and the arrow. This is what it looks like in like a novel when you read the first chapter. That first letter is always big. So I'm going to bring a negative baseline shift to this, and that's going to drop the L below the I on the line. Just kind of a neat design element that looks pretty good. So here's the thing. We've changed that color of the L. We've changed the size, and we've changed the baseline shift. I'm going to go -10 on the baseline shift. I want to do the exact same changes to the letter M, but I want to do it so fast where I don't have to change 3 things at once. So here's what we can do. I'm going to keep the L selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to my palette over here on the side. That's going to be, and actually mine's closed, so I'm going to go open it. So I'm going to go to Window on the menu, and I'm going to go to Character Styles. Window, Character Styles. The Character Styles box, big A with the little 2 boxes, has a couple of what looks like a new layer. Go ahead and click on that layer. Now here, before you do that, you've got to be selected on the L because you're going to save those changes. And I'm going to click the piece of paper here. I just saved a character style. I'm going to go ahead and rename it. So I'm going to double click it to rename it. So style name, I'm going to call this one Enlarged Lower Baseline Cap. And you can see all the different changes I made. I got a baseline shift, I got my text at 60 point times, and my color. Click OK. I just saved the changes. You can see in the character styles palette now that this is an option I can use. Staying with your horizontal type tool, go ahead and select the M. Okay, with the M selected, go ahead and click on Enlarge Lower Baseline Cap. The changes are now applied to the M. I didn't get my color to go, so if you didn't get your color to go, go ahead and highlight the M, go to your text color, and then just sample the L. So if you didn't get it to work, that's okay. Not everything works the first time. Just select the M, go to your text color, and then sample the L so you get the exact same color. However, we did get the style to drop the M and change the size, so that part works. So that's good. Go ahead and click the check mark to commit those changes. Okay, and let's add one more thing to this piece of text. I'm going to go to my Move tool. So now I can move my text around. Maybe I'm going to position it just a little bit more. So I'm on my live music layer. We've talked a little bit about layer styles already. So let's add a layer style to this particular block of text. Let's go to Layer, Layer Style, and let's add a drop shadow. So the layer style box, I can just move it to the side here. And I'm selected on drop shadows. That means I'm changing things for the drop shadow effect. You can see the effect raises the text off a little bit off the page. And you can change the angle a little bit. Like maybe I want the angle to go a little bit farther, maybe like 120 degrees. And you can change your distance. You know, the distance refers to how far the shadow is away from your text. Maybe the size of the actual shadow itself. And then go ahead and click OK. Next piece, if you look over here on your layers palette, you can click the drop down arrow and that can expand and contract your effects on your particular live music layer. So that's just adding a couple layer styles. There are several other types of styles you can use, but you don't always want to use so many. Just some subtle drop shadows look pretty good. Okay, that'll conclude 6, 1, 2, and 3 screencast.